Okay, in today's setup guide, I'm going to be getting you up and running with a complete solution to making MAME emulation so much nicer. So in this setup guide, I'm going to be showing you how to download, how to install the latest and greatest MAME emulator, as well as applying the IV Play front-end system. I'm going to be showing you how to add artwork like you can see right now, how to configure your controller within MAME, and how to get the best experience using IV Play. Check this one out. Okay, before I start today's setup guide for IV Play and MAME, if you like what you see today, hit notifications and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming retro emulation content on my channel that I release every day. That just means you'll get notifications pop up whenever I release new content, which I say is every day. So we're looking at the latest MAME set today, as well as the latest MAME emulator, which I'm going to go through in a minute. And IV Play itself is literally cosmetic, which fits over the MAME emulator just to make it look nicer. So there's a lot to download in this setup guide. I'm going to leave links in my description. So let's start. We are going to go over to actually look at MAME itself at the moment. So I'm using the latest MAME ROM set. If I go to downloads just here, we can find the latest release here. And as of recording this video, the latest release of the MAME emulator is 0262B, and this is a 64-bit executable we can download. And this is the emulator. Now, you need to determine which MAME ROM set you're running. If you're using an older version, then you can go to Downloads, Previous Releases, and you'll get all the previous emulators of MAME just here. So if you're using something from say 2020 for example, then you can find which MAME emulator you're going to require just here. It's not too difficult really. So what I'm going to do then is actually download the latest release of MAME for this, and I'm going to download the MAME 64-bit executable just here. So we've now downloaded the MAME emulator, so that's one thing. The next thing which we're going to need to do is download the IV Play, and this is a front end as it were. So like I was saying, this is literally going to be cosmetic to make MAME look a little bit nicer. So the latest version of IV Play is 1.8.5.0, which was released last year in 2023. If I just left click to download this. Now, whilst we're here, we're also going to download snapshots. So just left click on this one in download snapshots. And we're also going to download icons. So that's it for the IV Play website. Like I say, I'll leave the link in my description for this. Next thing we're going to look at is different MAME ROM sets. So for this setup guide, I'm going to be using the full non-merge set. And this is a RetroBat wiki, but I find it's a nice way for people not understanding ROM sets for MAME, and this will take you through everything. So if you want an easy life, then just get yourself a full non-merge set. That's what I recommend for beginners anyway. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to come back to this website in a minute, but let's actually get started and set up with MAME. So just a minute ago, we downloaded the MAME emulator. I've got the 64-bit just here. Remember, this is the latest version of this. So what I'm going to do with this one is create a new folder on my desktop. I'm going to go to New Folder, and I'm going to call this one MAME. If I just drag this almost zebra-looking shortcut inside of that MAME folder, once I'm inside, I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm using WinRAR. You might be using a different extraction tool. I'm going to just extract here. Okay, so that's everything extracted. We can now delete this exe just here. So what we need to do first is just open up MAME. And here we go. So I've got no games added to it. There's nothing added to this at all at the moment, but I just want to make sure it opens, which it does. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we downloaded the IV Play front just now. So this is going to be downloaded into a zip folder. If I just open this up, Now you've also got a user guide in here in PDF format, but what I'm going to do is literally just left click and highlight all three of those files and just copy them inside of that main folder where we just extracted the MAME emulator. So if we just check if they've copied in, and they have. So here's IV Play. So again, I'm just going to test this one for now to see if this actually opens. And Windows protected your PC. If you just go to more info and run anyway. Okay, you'll notice at the top just here it says updating. There's no games added into MAME yet. Just remember that IV Play isn't the emulator. The emulator, which is going to start our games, is actually MAME. This is just literally just for show, really, just to make games look a little nicer. So what we're going to do next then is actually start adding some stuff to this. So our games for MAME goes into your ROMs folder. Now I'm using the latest non-merge ROM set, so all I'm going to do is just Control and A to highlight all my MAME games, and I'm going to just drag them into that MAME ROMs folder. Okay, so that's the MAME games placed into that ROMs folder. The next thing we're going to do is take a look at artwork. So obviously the point of IV Play is to actually add artwork to make things look nicer. So the easiest way to do this is you're going to find a file called UI.ini. So we're going to go down to UI.ini, and it's a little cog, and it's a configuration settings file. If I right click on this, I'm going to open it with Notepad. This is going to bring up a little text document, and what this is going to do is actually tell us what artwork we can add into Play IV. So for example, we got covers, we got icons, we got select, how to, game over, artwork screens, marquees, flyers, titles, PCBs. So lots just there. And what we need to do to actually add paths is actually create new folders within our main folder. So I'm going to give you an example. If I just minimize this, within my main folder, I'm going to create a new folder in here. And I've got some artwork which I downloaded just a minute ago from the Play IV website, which was snaps. We got an artwork folder which we can drag our artwork into, which it says just here, artwork previews, but we have no icon folder. So what I'm going to do within that main folder is create a new folder, right click, new folder, and I'm going to call this one icons. So just a minute ago when I was downloading IV Play front end, I also downloaded some artwork, and one of them was icons. That's what I downloaded. Inside icons, we're going to find lots of files. What we're going to do is drag all of those icon files into that icons folder. So literally just a case of extracting those icons. And while that's extracted into the icons folder, what I'm going to do next is go into that artwork folder, and you're going to see some random .pngs, which are image files. And I also downloaded from the IV Play website snaps. Now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to just left click on one of these .png image files and then Control and A so everything's highlighted, and then just like icons, I'm going to just drag them into that artwork folder. So this can take a little bit of time extracting, but it's worth it, and you're going to have a very nice looking MAME system. Okay then, so now that we've got the icons as well as the snaps, which I've just put into my artwork folder extracted, what we're going to do then is just open up IV Play. Now remember, once we got the games into the ROMs folder and everything else, you don't really need to be opening up MAME as such, but we can open up games from the ivplay.exe. Okay, so once we're inside IV Play again, you'll notice we've now got icons on the side rather than just little blocks of colors. What we need to do then is start adding some more artwork into this front end. So if I press F1, this is going to bring up a play config menu. It looks a little bit confusing, but it really isn't that bad. Now, the one we're looking at is art types just here. And this is where we can add in artwork that we're putting into that main folder. So in order for this to display in this front end, we do need to add it here. So I'm going to press on the add button. And from add, this is going to bring up browse for a folder. So we need to find the main folder, and here it is. And from here, I'm going to add my artwork folder where I put my snap images. If I just left click on this and go to OK, that's now added into art types. And you'll notice just here in this area, we got art type. If I just put this to artwork, I'm going to press apply and OK. And you'll notice instantly in the background, my game, this 1942 game's now got artwork. And I can go up to select any game really, and we've even got artwork here for obscure little forgotten 1970s ping pong systems. So everything looks like it's there. And let me just remind you that if you press right and left on your cursor keys, we can actually skip ahead if you've got a lot of main games, that type of thing. So next thing we're going to do is just close IV Play down a minute. And what I'm going to do is open up another website I briefly showed you just a minute ago. And this is Progetto Snaps. And you can download lots of different artwork packs. So if you recall a minute ago when I opened up that .ini file through Notepad, it tells us here what type of artwork we can use. So for example, if I wanted to add more artwork, different styles of artwork into my IV Play, then I would just look here and then I'd go to Progetto Snaps and then search for that type of artwork. You can generally find everything you need just on the panel, just here on the side. So for example, if I go to marquees, I can then download 4 different packs for marquees to use with MAME. So obviously you're going to need to download these one at a time, and these normally take you to a mega. And here you go. So if you want to download a lot using the mega website which Progetto Snaps uses, then you will have to pay. So I've already downloaded marquees for this setup guide, so you can see again how to add artwork. So I put them into my art folder. And all I'm going to do to add these is do just like I did with the icons folder. I'm going to create a new folder. So right click, new folder, and I'm going to call this marquees, just so it's easy to identify. And we don't want a capital A as well. Then I'm going to just extract the images, which are also .pngs. Okay, so I'm not going to bother extracting the rest of those, but that's literally all you need to do is just extract so the PNGs come out like I've done here, but do that for all of the zip folders. So what we're going to do next is go back into IV Play. And obviously we now need to link up where those marquees are stored. So I'm going to press F1 again on my keyboard. Under art types, I'm going to go to add. And again, it's just another case of finding your main folder. And then in this case, I'm going to look for that marquees folder. So if I just left click on it and OK. Okay, so I can now go to art type and select marquees. If I press apply and OK. I can then see marquees, which I've just added into the configuration menu. And there we go. So obviously because I've not extracted all of the marquees, then some of these are empty for me. But as you can see, it works fine. And like I say, just make sure to extract all of those zip folders so you've got the whole package of marquees. So next thing I'm going to do is just press F1 again. And I'm going to just go through some settings here. So if we go to the top here, game list font, we can actually change the font style. So for example, show cards Gothic, and we can select the font style here. as well as the size of the text. So I'm going to keep this to regular show card Gothic in size 10. If I press OK and apply it, you'll now see that the fonts have now changed, and you can have a lot of fun with this. Lots of fun for everyone. Now with MAME packages, because you'll get a lot of non-working games, we can actually use this config window just here to hide non-working games. You just left click on that, and just remember to hit apply every time you change some settings in this window. We can also hide clones. So again, apply and OK. And now as you can see, my main ROM set is now condensed in size because it's taken away clones of about 10,000 versions of Pac-Man, which we've had for the last almost 50 years now. And just remember, by pressing left and right on your keyboard, you can scroll through your game collection a lot faster like this. So I've got my controller connected and I'm using a Google Stadia controller for this. So I'm going to just open up one of my favourite arcade games of all time. So we got RoboCop. Yes, as you can see, RoboCop now runs because it's using the MAME emulator in the background.
RoboCop.
And if I press escape to exit that game, obviously my controller isn't working because I've not configured it through the emulator itself. I've just been working on the glossy side of it. So what I'm going to do is actually open up MAME, the actual emulator this time, to sort that problem out. So I'm going to open up MAME. And from MAME, if we go to general settings, I'm using my mouse for this. If we go to input assignments, player 1 controls, and what I'm going to do here is just double left click on, say, player 1 up, and I'm going to press up on my D-pad, player 1 down, obviously down on my D-pad, and follow this through until you're literally left with no buttons on your controller. You're also going to want to map out some buttons just here, player 1, button 1, button 2. These are going to act as your action buttons, but to be fair, most arcade games are going to require 1 button, maybe 2 or 3 at best. Okay, so my controller is now actually working, and another important one to map out in MAME is your start button. So P1 start. And I'd also recommend mapping out the select button as well. So obviously for racing games, in anything else that you might see in an arcade, guns, light guns, that type of thing, all of your input assignments are literally here. So if you ask me about light guns, I mean physical light guns, I don't actually own a light gun, so I can't give any advice on it, and people's always asking me for that one. So once we've done with this screen, we're going to go to return to previous menu. And let me just remind you, if your controller isn't working with what I've just done, if you just go down to input devices, from here you should find under joystick your controller is listed. Okay, so once you've finished mapping out your controller, the next option we need to go into is other controls. And from other controls, you're going to need to map out a coin button. So rather than keep going to your keyboard and pressing the digit 5 like it says, we can map this one out just like the other action buttons. So just double left click and map out from here. So obviously when we open up an arcade game to play it, you're going to need to insert a coin. So one of my buttons now corresponds and simulates that. So what we're going to do then is, like I've been saying, just make sure you save everything. So save settings. Okay, so now we've configured controller. If we open up the IV Play again, And if you want to open up IV Play in full screen whenever you boot up, it's simply just going to be pressing F1 to bring this config menu up, and then we can actually go into full screen mode just by left clicking on that one. What I'm going to do then is open up my RoboCop game again, and my controller should now be working. You know what, that game when I was a kid, it seemed very gritty at the time. It was just one of those arcade games where a lot of adults was around it. I suppose it's because RoboCop was such a violent film. I don't know, I suppose most kids didn't watch it. I might have been the exception, but yeah, loved the film's brilliant stuff. And that's it for today's IV Play and MAME Complete Setup Guide. So if you liked today's video, hit notifications and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming retro emulation content. If you're a big fan of MAME and arcades, then check out my playlists. I've done MAME in the past, different front ends for MAME, as well as other systems which is regarded as arcade systems such as Technopara in Sega Model 2 and 3. Also join me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. And if you feel like donating to my channel to help things, then donate through PayPal, which is in my description. If it's £1 or $1, it doesn't matter, every little helps, and it just means my channel will get better over time. So anyways, thanks for watching and stay retro.